Start? K2 Engineering offers a wide range of professional civil, architectural, and municipal services to meet your individual project needs. Our versatility, combined with our personalized approach, is what sets us apart as a full-service engineering and consultation firm. To learn more about our services, please visit us on the web at www.k2engineering.net. K2 Engineering, where customer service is our priority.
For funeral services from pre-need to at-need, burial or cremation, call Gates Funeral Home and Crematory, located at 136 North Gallatin Avenue in a beautifully restored historic home. Family owned and operated by Rick Gates, former Brownsville resident and Guyville alumni, the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory offers warmth, convenience, affordability, and ample parking. With a knowledgeable funeral director and compassionate staff, the Gates family and the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory are ready to assist you.
Having Hicks & Baugh's drugstore in Uniontown means reliable, quality, and friendly service. Pharmacists Stephen Harper and Seth Miller are ready to answer your health questions and handle all your prescriptions. They offer free delivery, mail-out service, and accept all utility payments, all part of their good neighbor way of doing business. Visit Hicks & Baugh's at 304 Morgantown Street in Uniontown or call 724-437-2828. Open Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday until 3.
Your local station, WMBS.
The views and opinions presented by the host, guests, or callers on this program do not necessarily represent the positions of WMBS Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to What's on Your Mind. I'm your host, Russ Rhodes. I have a guest joining me via phone later, or this hour, and possibly next hour as well. And I'll introduce Mr. Kennedy to you in a second, because What's on Your Mind is brought to you by AR Roofing and Remodeling, Bright Stripes, Seal Coating and Line Striping, Madewell Services, full lawn care and cleaning services, K2 Engineering, Coldwell Banker, Laurel Ridge Realty, Hicks & Baugh's Drugstore, and Gary's Auto Sales. So, Mr. Kennedy, Brian Kennedy, was part of last week's town hall, and he was on the panel up there, and I wanted to bring him in and chat with everybody about data centers. Mr. Kennedy, he's a Senior Vice President of Operations and Government Affairs at the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and he's been a member of their executive team for over 25 years. He spearheads public policy, economic growth initiatives, and advocacy for southwestern Pennsylvania's tech and innovation sectors. And he's involved in positioning Pennsylvania as a major global hub for data center and AI infrastructure, working to ensure the region has the power capacity, skilled workforce, and manufacturing base needed to support the advancing AI technology economy. So, Brian, thank you for joining us today on What's on Your Mind.
Hi, Russ. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a conversation. So, I want to start by kind of getting this out there at the very beginning. Based on the bio that I just kind of read for everybody, Brian, is it fair to say that you're pro data centers or an advocate for data centers?
I think I think you're going to hear that through the passion I have for some of the issues, and hopefully by the end of the discussion you'll know that I'm actually way more pro manufacturing and innovation than I am data centers.
Okay, all righty. So let's start with Data Centers 101. Kind of back to the beginning, if you will. Excuse me. What is a data center?
Well, I love the fact you said let's go back to the beginning, because the nation's very first data center was actually developed right here in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
By Penn State University, and it was on behalf of, I believe at the time, the Department of Defense. So the state has a very deep history in hosting data centers. Data centers are around people in the state of Pennsylvania everywhere you go. You might not know it. I think I mentioned there, I work in, as a Pittsburgher, I have a right, I think, to keep calling this place the Allegheny Center Mall.
Yep.
But it's since been purchased and renamed, I think, 10 years ago. It's called Nova Place now. If any of you have been to Allegheny Center Mall, it was one of the nation's first urban malls. Having a Sears and department stores. It was also on the leading edge of failing, and it went away, much like Century 3 Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a 5,000 parking garage underneath of it. Probably most people know it for the 5,000 person garage when you come to a Pirate game or a Steeler game. But the reality is this building that I'm in is actually the largest data center within the city of Pittsburgh. And people would have to be convinced when they come here. They say, really, there's a data center here? And I'd say, no, there's multiple data centers in this building. And the reason we didn't have to tear this building down is because data centers came in here and found a constructive reuse. It's now a center for, a lot of technology businesses, robotics businesses, healthcare businesses. Duquesne like to move their headquarters here, but also some vibrant small businesses, some small restaurants right here.
Mm-hmm.
So data centers surround us. They're everywhere. But they're not. They haven't really made headlines in the last 20 or 30. Most people in Pennsylvania haven't noticed them and haven't had any problems with them.
So what do they do, though? I mean, what's their purpose?
So I think this is really good. I wish we had started with this discussion, last week when we were down at Fayette County. So the discussion today is really not about data centers. It's about AI data centers. Historically, data centers have been hosting websites and hosting the data for people like, the Hilton Hotels or PNC Bank and organizations like that, providing backup and storage and things of that nature. And those data centers, by and large, needed to be very close to major population centers and huge fiber connectivity and things like that. AI data centers are able to be a little bit more mobile because they're basically processing algorithms. And I want to talk about, because I think a lot of people see the downside of AI, but the reality is there's a lot of upside. I have a daughter who is taking a level of math at North Allegheny School District in the 10th grade that I didn't reach until I was a senior, and she's asking me for help with her, Algebra 2 homework.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest with you, it's not coming back to me, right? So what's great is that rather than just telling her to pay attention in class better and don't come to me with questions that I can't answer, I'm actually able to grab my phone and take a picture of the chapter that she's working on, put together a mock test for her, have her take that test right on my phone as though it was a software program that I developed, and then go back and have it create a second test to fine-tune some of the areas where she needed some additional help. Also, I can take a picture of the answer she may have developed, using the pencil and paper and say, hey, how are we doing here? Is this correct or not? And I can actually help and participate in my child's education using AI. Of course, I use AI 20 or 30 times a day in my job, whether it's writing an agenda for an important meeting that's coming or helping to write a speech. AI has become part of, everyday necessity and has made me able to get a lot more done. And I think if your listeners haven't used it yet, haven't used tools like ChatGPT or Claude, which I think is the best, is my personal favorite, or Gemini, I think they will. I definitely think a lot of people are maybe noticing the changes in Google. When you do a Google search at the top, you're seeing maybe a little paragraph coming up and summarizing some results that are usually what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's an example of AI. Now, the reality is that takes some pretty serious processing power in order to do that kind of work. In order to, let me take 6 photos of 6 pages and upload those and then have it, analyze what it's seeing and then actually come up with algebra and respond to it. It takes a lot of processing power. And that requires stronger and stronger chips that people like NVIDIA are making and more and more power to power those data centers. And that's why you're seeing the rise. There's an incredible demand for AI among consumers. It's growing, and as you start working, one of the things you'll be frustrated by is, Claude will give you, a certain number of free. You can make several tests for your daughter for free, but the next one you need to subscribe. So these things are power intensive, and they require amazing new technologies to make them work and to power them, and that's what we're talking about.
So
we're talking about.
So is the need for information, is that what's driving the growth in this industry?
The need for AI. So I mean, I can't even go through all the areas that are a promise, but in one area, for example, I'll give you one example that I think maybe would be different today. I think we've all seen the movie about the Winklevi brothers, right? Who we heard, had come up with the idea originally for something that ultimately became Facebook, and they needed to hire a software developer to, bring their idea into a product, and so they hired this young man named Mark Zuckerberg. And of course, this is history, and there's some dispute as to what happened at that point. But Mark Zuckerberg became, the CEO of Facebook, not the Winklevi brothers. And I do think, because of things like AI, you're going to see entrepreneurs and inventors be able to bring products to the market so much faster without having to pay expensive software developers and putting your intellectual property in jeopardy and having to engage lawyers. I think that you're going to see a huge surge in entrepreneurship as a result of AI. And I think you're going to see a whole lot more software-related products coming to market from people who live in places like where I'm from in Beaver County and don't necessarily have to work for one of the big tech companies anymore.
We hear, excuse me, we can't lose the AI race with China. So what's the race? What is it we're racing to or for?
Yeah, I mean, that people absolutely bring up China a lot. There are national security concerns about falling behind China. The United States has enjoyed significant advantages over competitors, as we label them, like China and Russia. They're now being labeled as near-peer competitors from a national security perspective, in large part because of advancements that places like China have made in AI. And our ability to deter war, which is the mission, right, of our defense apparatus, is to deter aggressors. It is eroding as China develops more and more technology. Their decision as to whether to invade Taiwan and what the United States might be able to do in response to that, that calculus changes every day that China gains ground on the United States. And that's, of course, a dangerous situation. Losing deterrence is a dangerous situation. That's the primary concern. The second one is, this is real. The AI economy, it's real. It's coming. The consumer market has already embraced it and is demanding it. The business communities are embracing and demanding it. It's coming. So whether it goes to China first or it goes to the United States first, it's going to go somewhere. So that is concern. It's probably not my number one reason why I think data centers are something that we ought to not be demonizing unnecessarily. Right? China's probably not at the top of my list, but it's certainly something that, from a national security perspective, we've been able to maintain a fairly safe planet for a long time because the United States has enjoyed such a technological advantage over potential adversaries. That advantage is eroding daily. It's eroding daily, particularly as it relates vis-a-vis China.
Okay. I guess in my final question concerning data centers themselves, if we were talking about a Anheuser-Busch moving into the area and building a new brewery, we know how they're going to make money. They're going to make beer and they're going to sell it. If a power company builds a new power plant, we know they're going to make. How do data centers earn money? I mean, we just see this building sitting there, making noise, costing money, but how do they then earn money to pay the taxes that we are told are coming?
Yeah, so, I mean, let's keep in mind, today I think we're just talking about AI data centers.
Yes.
We're talking about, traditional data centers make money by hosting my website, hosting my, right? But in an AI data center, they're making money by processing algorithms, by and large. And you can see the business model shaping up through Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini and groups like that. Charge monthly fees to consumers. So consumers are, one, directly to consumers, people like me, who use it too much. And then they have models where they're charging it in licensing fees to companies. So my company might agree to pay $5,000 a year for unlimited subscriptions and a certain number of tokens or uses from all the people who work here, which is about 20 people who work here. This is, the more you use, if you're a super user, the more processing power you use, the more you're going to pay. Whether or not they're going to be profitable in the future, it's still, we'll see. We'll see, right?
Okay.
People are watching OpenAI really closely to see if they can get there. But these are the early days. These are the early days of the process.
Okay. So last Wednesday, you pretty much started your part of the presentation with your electric prices are going to go up. It's guaranteed. So why is that? And you part of that, you also said, right now we're at 182 MWs, and I'm not sure what MW is, but it's projected or planned for 7,196 MWs. So kind of explain that a little bit more, why electric prices would go up.
Yeah.
What can we do to mitigate that possibility from happening?
Hopefully you picked up on the follow-up that I had from it. But so, I think what I said last week is, my boss, my CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, asked me to come down and participate in this educational forum. I did disclose I do represent data centers. I don't represent any data center that's asked me to come to Fayette County or has indicated they have any plans in the future to build a data center. That doesn't mean they cannot tell me. That means they might be, but none of them have asked me to do that. So I did say that. And I also acknowledge, I have a really hard, I have a steep hill to climb, because everyone in that room knew the facts weren't on my side, right? The facts, we all know that data centers are going to drive higher prices of electricity.
Well, and we just saw June 1st, West Penn went up 10%, and I think it was Duquesne Light went up 30%.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that, right?
And both of them blame data centers.
So we'll get to that. So everyone knows data centers are going to make your electric bill go up. Everybody knows that they're going to make your water bill go up. Everyone knows they're coming for your job, right? These are facts that are really hard to dispute, but the reality is none of those statements are true.
Okay.
None of them are true. So, and this is, anybody listening, I want them to be able to not take my word for it, right? Just do your own research. Google Pennsylvania electricity prices in comparison to Virginia electricity prices. Pennsylvania electricity prices in comparison to Texas. Pennsylvania utility prices in comparison to Georgia. And why did I pick Texas and Georgia and Virginia? Because that's where the absolute strongest concentration of data centers are on the planet. North Virginia, and specifically Loudoun County, Virginia, is the data center capital of the world. So if I told you that the state of Pennsylvania only had 182 megawatts of data center capacity, so essentially that's how they don't rate data centers in square feet. They rate them in their capacity for energy usage. So we have about the capacity to use about 182 megawatts.
Okay.
Where Virginia has the capacity
now, is that statewide? I mean, is that statewide usage 182 megawatts?
Statewide, yeah. We're comparing state numbers to state numbers.
Okay.
Here, right? So we have 182 megawatts of data center capacity in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay, I guess that's where I was trying to clarify. It's not, it's 182 megawatts for data centers only. It's not all consumption within the state.
Not even close.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just how. So when people say, "Do we have 1 million square feet of data centers?" They don't say that. They say we have 182 megawatts of capacity of data centers in Pennsylvania. Does that make sense?
It makes it sound like that's how much available power is there. In other words, after the rest of the state uses what power it needs, there's 182 megawatts left over that can go to data centers.
There's 100. There's a lot more left over, so I'll get to that too. So that sounds like a lot, right? 182 megawatts. I mean, it's got mega in it, right? But let's put that in perspective. Our neighboring state, Ohio, has 3,000 megawatts of data centers. Also, guys, compare Ohio electricity rates to Pennsylvania electricity rates. Virginia has 13,000 800, I think near 14,000 of megawatts, right? Here's the cool thing. Hopefully by now some of your listeners have gone out and done that Google search. And what they found is that all of those states, their electric rates are about 22% lower than Pennsylvania's. And I don't know how people can go around making that case that data centers are absolutely going to raise your electric prices. But then when you go to the states that have the highest concentration of data centers, you find out that we in Pennsylvania actually have much higher, right? Considerably higher electric rates. And you just mentioned 2 people just raised rates in Pennsylvania, and it's not because of data. We don't have any data centers. I mean, if I wanted to go to a hyperscale data center, I think I have to drive like 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find one, right? We don't have data centers here driving us. Now, of course, they're on the PJM power. Of course they are. But the reality is they're on the same power grid as Virginia is to us, and Virginia has 22% lower electricity rates than we do, right? And so it's worth noting when people are like, oh, they're going to raise your rates. You know what raises your rates? Shutting down nuclear power facilities in your state that are responsible for a huge percentage of your energy generation. We did that in Pennsylvania, shutting down other generation. We shut down, over the last 5 to 10 years, 5,000 megawatts of energy generating capacity in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, unless you shut down 5,000 megawatts of demand, right, of people using it, everybody who went to high school can tell you that means our rates are going to go up, right? If you reduce the supply and you don't reduce the demand, rates are going to go up. Now, likewise, I did say, and I think you may have heard me at the end, data centers absolutely can cause power to go up. They absolutely can cause prices to go up, and they will if we don't do what Governor Shapiro is calling for, which is to make sure that the data centers are paying for their own power generation, their own power distribution and transmission, right? So that if they are going to come to Pennsylvania and build a significant data center, they need to bring their own power. And here's the cool thing. That's actually exactly what's happening. In fact,
is that
almost all the cases.
I was going to say, is that what's taking place up in Homer City?
It's Homer City. It's Greene County.
Okay.
It's Beaver County. So it's actually what you've seen here, and why part of my job is really hard is that we actually haven't seen data centers yet in West Virginia, not to a huge extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have seen people coming along and saying, hey, I want to refire 3 Mile Island. I want to bring that back up to power, and I want to create several thousand jobs in doing that. I don't want to shut down the 2 nuclear power reactors in Beaver County. In fact, I want to boost their capacity by 20%. I want to take that Bruce Mansfield site in Beaver County that was a coal-fired facility, and I want to upgrade it to a state-of-the-art natural gas facility, hoping that maybe someone will come along in the data center world and purchase that power. So the same thing happening in Homer City, right? So in Western PA, we have this very strong bring your own power. And really, let's talk about why this is a great state to produce power. And we've got amazing legacy capabilities from a nuclear perspective. We had, multiple nuclear reactors that had either been shut down and mothballed or were scheduled to be shut down and mothballed. And now they're being able to be brought back online. We have an abundance of natural gas in Western Pennsylvania. We even have an abundance of hydropower. You're seeing some really interesting things going on in Eastern Pennsylvania with a hydroelectric facility being built out there, a $2 billion investment. So Pennsylvania is an energy-friendly state, so much so, we have so much energy that we actually export more than any other state in the union. We export more electricity than any other state in the United States does. In fact, 1/3 of every electron that we put onto the power grid leaves the state of Pennsylvania to produce goods and value somewhere else in the PJM power grid.
And I wanted to touch on that, Brian, but I got to take a quick little break, and we'll pick up where we left off on that. I'm on the air with Brian Kennedy, Senior Vice President of Operations and Government Affairs with the Pittsburgh Technology Council. We're talking about AI data centers, and we're going to continue doing that right after these messages.
It's the perfect time to upgrade your outdoor area with a new fence from All Around Fence Company, conveniently located on Route 40 in Uniontown. All Around Fence has been installing quality residential, commercial, and farm fencing for more than 46 years. Offering residential fencing including chain link, decorative aluminum, steel, and more, All Around Fence has the fence for you. All Around Fence is also your one-stop shop for Neutrina products and carries Weaver equine and livestock supplies and Preferred farm equipment. So, if you need to upgrade an existing fence, add a new gate, or are considering the installation of new farm fencing, visit All Around Fence, open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 to 1, or give them a call at 724-439-0331. To learn more, visit allaroundfence.com.
Is it time for your first home or time to trade up to a home that fits your lifestyle? It's time to visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with trade-in and trade-up deals. Imagine beautiful, new, energy-efficient homes packed with the features you've been dreaming about. Trade in and trade up at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51. Trade-in value toward purchase of a new home determined by resale value and evaluation by home center manager. Additional deposit may be required.
Mountaintop Title and Notary can handle all of your motor vehicle and PennDOT needs, such as titles, plates, renewal, registrations, and all notary needs. Tina Nicholson of Mountaintop Title and Notary can also handle ATV and boat titles and also does income taxes. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4:30, and appointments can be made for after hours and Saturdays. Mountaintop Title and Notary with a new location at 655 Nelson Road in Farmington, the only place you need to go for all title, notary, and tax work. Call Tina at 724-984-1514 for the most professional services around.
Do you enjoy luxury? Well, Live Casino wants to put you in the driver's seat. Ignite your drive and win a new Mercedes-Benz. Look for the specially marked slot machines near the cocktail bar and play daily for your chance to win. All it takes is one bet. Sit down, swipe in, and you could ride off in a new Mercedes-Benz GLC 300. Make your move at Live Casino, Route 30 at Westmoreland Mall. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hello, I'm attorney Jeremy Davis from the law firm of Davis & Davis. We've been helping the great people of Fayette County for over 45 years with personal injury claims. If you are hurt or injured, call our law firm for your free consultation. The insurance companies are not on your side. Call us today at 724-437-2799. Either myself or an attorney from our office will personally come out and meet with you. If you're in an accident or hurt, call us at Davis & Davis, 724-437-2799 for your free consultation. Let us fight for you.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the Better Business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Welcome back to What's on Your Mind. I'm on the air with Brian Kennedy from the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Brian, again, thank you for joining us. We were talking about energy supply and restarting of plants and everything. Is that all that's needed, is to get things started, or is you had mentioned a lot of plants are supplying or bringing their own energy. Is that the trend in the industry now?
It's no. I mean, it's not the trend everywhere. So this is actually one of the key theses I want people to take away from this is that things that people say about data centers in other states don't necessarily apply in Pennsylvania. So people are like, hey, data centers don't create a lot of jobs. Well, that's true if you're in a place like Virginia. It's not true if you're from a place like Pennsylvania, and here's really why. Virginia buys our electricity. They're not producing a whole lot of electricity. They're buying it from us.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the PJM Power Grid buys at least $5 billion worth of power for other states from Pennsylvania power producers. So this is huge.
Yeah,
right?
I saw from your graph of the 14 states in the PJM system, 4 of them export their power. Pennsylvania being the top there, almost doubling the next one, Illinois. So with the emergence of data centers, the states need to go kind of like, hey, I'm taking care of myself first, and so, Virginia, I'm going to stop exporting power to you until I take care of my own. Is that part of the answer too?
This is a question that's come up, like, could we restrict, how much power we sell to other states, and I've heard people give conflicting answers on it. But if you're asking me, Pennsylvania, I'd like to keep that power in Pennsylvania and put it to work here.
Yeah.
Right? Like the biggest users of power are the kind of people that create a lot of jobs, manufacturers and folks like that. I'm from Beaver County, where when you pull a list of the largest, your 40 employers, the power plants come up right on that list, right? Like, so the Beaver Valley Nuclear, which was the first commercial nuclear power plant in the United States, it was right there in Shippingport, Pennsylvania. And as recently as 2 years ago, it was set to go out of business. My best friend's dad worked in that nuclear facility and made a great living as a small business person, serving just that one nuclear reactor. My other best friend's dad worked at the 500 yards down the road at the Bruce Mansfield plant. Those were both set to be gone, right? And, they would have been monuments to power production for decades. I mean, who was going to come in there to pay to tear down a nuclear power plant, a coal-fired power plant, and go to the trouble of trying to revitalize it? They weren't. It was going to be a museum for decades. That's not the case now. Now, what's happened is these former coal-fired plants, the 5,000 megawatts of mostly coal-fired power plants we've shut down over the last decade, those were all going to be in the same space, right? Some government was 20 or 30 years from now going to have to pay to knock those cooling towers down and the generators down and try to remediate the sites and to convince somebody to come put a manufacturer there. I don't know about you, Russ, but that doesn't happen very often in Western PA, not from my experience, right? Like, I'm from Aliquippa, right? Like, there's a real long piece of land right there that used to be steel mill, and it ain't the most vital piece of property here in 2026. So if somebody says to me, I want to come in and put a data center there, I'm going to remediate everything, and I'm going to put up, I'm going to make the place safe and secure, I'm in. Count me in, right? But so 3 ways, and this is important, and then you're going to hear, because I'm kind of bored by data centers, right? Data centers themselves are kind of boring to me, but I'm super excited about what they do for Western PA. So 3 ways you can make jobs, and this is what everybody needs to hear, this part. So if you're doing something at home, this is the part to tune into. 3 ways you can make jobs. You can build the data centers, and you can operate them. And I don't want to dismiss building data centers, because people like the iron workers and the carpenters, I've gotten to know them in the past year. These people are among the 8,000 employees who need to get hired in the next 12 months just to start construction on the very few announced data centers that are potentially coming in the western half of the state. 8,000 people from the skilled trades. So think carpenters, iron workers. We need welders. We need electricians. This is incredibly impactful to apprenticeship programs that can open their doors to bring in more early career people for the first. I mean,
which was talked about last Wednesday, and you say this, it's 8,000 jobs steady through 2035
at least, right? Because in the study that we did, and by the way, I'm citing some statistics now. I apologize. I should have said that from the beginning. From Mangum Economics, which did a study for us, and we had them study not data centers so much but the indirect jobs that come from data centers, right? So think electricians and iron workers and carpenters and, other laborers that are involved in building these centers. I've had the opportunity to go visit some of these apprenticeship programs, and they're booming like they haven't been before. And it's the kind of career I would, for the first time in my life, I could say I would encourage my son to think about doing something in the trades, because it is an incredible opportunity. So building the data centers, everybody dismisses it, right? They're like, oh, well, what are you going to do when you're done with the data center? Well, you're going to build another data center, or you're going to build a power plant that's going to power the next data center, or, and I'm going to say this for last because it's the thing I'm most passionate about, you're going to build a manufacturing plant that builds the equipment to power the data centers, right? So the trades are the big winners. Hands down, period, the skilled trades are the big winners. 8,000 very secure jobs just working on the data centers. Not the power plants, not the manufacturing facilities. The second area is operating the data centers. And I heard you on your show, I think you said that the average data center is 150 employees, and I think you said the average wages were $80,000. I'm not sure where you got that, but I won't dispute it. But I would say Google the top 50 employers in Fayette County and tell me where that one falls, right? Like, tell me where that falls, because I see Walmart in the top 4. right? And I'm pretty sure Walmart doesn't pay $80,000 to their employees. I don't know that data centers do either. I'm going to say that. Wasn't my stat, but
I had gotten that figure from an article in USA Today.
Okay. Yeah. So, but 150 jobs, $80,000. I'm from Beaver County. When I grew up, unemployment was 27% in 1983. So I never shake a stick at jobs, right? But so building them and operating them, between the two of them are going to create about 16,000 direct jobs over the next 10 years. So 8,000 people building them, 8,000 people operating them. But then here's the thing. If you drive into the garage here at Nova Place, Allegheny Center Mall, you're going to drive down there and you're going to see a whole lot of trucks from companies you haven't heard of. Etchel Engineering and Building, fiber connectivity companies. There are so many HVAC companies that are coming in that don't work for the data center, but work for the data center, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that data center every single day, performing maintenance and key functions. So there's at least another 20,000 jobs involved in operating the data centers, right? So 8,000 direct employees, those are that 150 you were talking about, but at least in Pennsylvania over the next decade, at least another 20,000 jobs on top of those operating them. Difficult to assign a lot of value to that unless you're one of those people. You aren't today because there aren't that many data centers in Pennsylvania. Okay, so that's the first way you can do it. The second way we've already talked about, you can produce the power. The power is the data center. We do that in Pennsylvania. We send $5 billion worth of power. People send us $5 billion worth of cash that we use to pay, people and companies to keep these power facilities running. So that's nothing to shake a stick at, right? The third reason, and here's why I'm actually excited about data centers, since I finally get to it, is that they create manufacturing jobs. So when you build a data center, you need a lot of power. You need power to come across a grid that's not capable today of delivering that power. It needs to have, the power grid has been so underinvested for the past 5 decades that there's at least 2 decades worth of investments that need to be made into the power grid to put it in a position to power data centers and everybody else. And here's the super cool thing. Anytime there's investment money to go into the power grid, that investment money is mostly going to land in Western PA. And we know, like your listeners know why, right? George Westinghouse invented the world's power grid right here, just like 3 or 4 miles from where I'm sitting. He invented the world's power grid and built one of the largest corporations on the planet building that power grid. And so, think about, not only generating electricity via nuclear power, which Westinghouse did and is still doing. They've recently signed an $80 billion contract, I think, for 10 to 11 new nuclear reactors of their AP1000, which is their most advanced model. So it's great for Pittsburgh. But we also developed the technology to transmit electricity long distances, right, so that it can be made in a place like Beaver County and shipped to a place like downtown Pittsburgh. George Westinghouse invented that process, right? He invented the transformers. He invented the switchgear, and ultimately built what we like to call the Empire of Lights here in Western PA. And I'm here to tell you today, the Empire of Lights is rising for the first time in many years. It's rising from the ashes, and people haven't quite noticed it, right? But if I asked you this, like, Russ, if I asked you, when was the last manufacturing factory you saw built in Fayette County? Could you think of one?
No, I cannot.
And likewise, I can think of one for Beaver County, which was the Shell Cracker, and that's a big one, right? So
that's a big one.
Not to underestimate, but if I go around, I can't think of a whole lot of manufacturing plants. Now, here's the thing: I want your listeners to verify what I'm about to tell you. Mitsubishi Electric Power Products, which is a former Westinghouse organization. They had a joint partnership with Westinghouse. They build, among other things, switchgear, right, which goes into the power grid. They do that in northern Allegheny right now, but they have just announced an $86 million new factory coming up from the ground in Beaver County. Hitachi Energy, which is a super cool company, also former Westinghouse company, located just a few minutes north of where we held that hearing at Penn State Fayette, there in Westmoreland County. They just invested over $70 million in 3 new manufacturing facilities right there in Westmoreland County to build switchgear and transformers. And I got to be honest, I don't think they're done.
I think it's up by the old Sony plant, if I'm not mistaken.
one of the facilities is right next door to the old Sony plant. And I got to tell you, I went on a tour there a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to come back on the weekends and volunteer to work there. They've got like a 3-story tall, if you know those like Tesla generators that can generate like a lightning bolt, they have a 3-story tall one of those that they use to test everything that goes out of that shop. And I just said to them, I'm like, can I come back on the weekend and volunteer, like to build shit or stuff? Sorry, to build stuff, because it is so impressive what they're doing there. That's a great company. What did I say? Hitachi. So if you've been following the Homer City project, Homer City is using a company called GE Vernova for their turbines. GE Vernova is building they put a pretty significant investment, $100 million in Charleroi. And I think some people might have seen some news about them purchasing a 700,000 square foot facility in Rostraver. I don't know what that is yet. But the stories go on and on about new factories being built right here in Western PA.
So I guess part of all of this, what concerns Fayette County residents, Brian, is Fayette County is rural, and people move here because they like the rural aspect of life, and so when you talk about the grid has to be strengthened, has to be increased, what's that going to look like? And how is it going to impact rural life here in Fayette County? People like to live out in the country. They like hearing the birds chirp, and the cows go moo and whatnot. So how's that all going to affect the lifestyle that so many in Fayette County have come to love and enjoy and want to keep?
Well, Russ, let's just say I completely relate to what you're saying. It's a real thing. When I'm driving, I'm from Beaver County. I live now in Allegheny County, but I grew up in Beaver County. And when I drive home to see my mom, the minute I hit the Beaver County line on 376, I can feel my blood pressure go down. Right? It's no doubt in my body where home is, and the lifestyle that I wanted, and I wish that I still had for my children growing up in a place like Beaver County. I will say that, increasingly, as jobs at the airport went away, as jobs in Steele and Aliquippa went away, and Beaver Falls went away, if you lived in Beaver County, your parents had to drive a long way for a job, right? And so you were, as a child, like you were waiting a lot for your dad to get home from work. They had to battle, the morning rush hour to get into Pittsburgh and battle to get home. And so you want jobs like the Beaver Valley Power Facility and the power facility, the coal-fired job, the Bruce Mansfield site. You want those jobs because they're 6 to 8 minute commutes. I grew up right on 18 in Green Garden Road in Beaver County, and the power facilities are right over the hill from me. So you want those kind of jobs because it lets people, spend time with their families. And jobs, of course, are the path to so much, right? So much dignity. And so I feel like the industry that I've worked for, the tech industry, hasn't really brought a whole lot of benefit to places like Beaver County, right? If I'm honest, right, in the 25 years I've been here, tech jobs are highly concentrated, not just in Pittsburgh, but in also just a few parts in the world. And so this is the very first time I think you're actually seeing tech companies in the Silicon Valley cut spending in the Silicon Valley so that they can make investments in places like Beaver County in data centers, right? So it's the first time I think that the tech community is really doing something that brings capital and wealth to places that I'm from and that I care deeply about. And primarily the way they're doing that, from my perspective, is not in the data center itself. It's through the investments in Pennsylvania they're making in data center components, transformers and switchgear and turbines and things that we make. And the cool thing is, we don't have to learn to make them anew to keep up with this trend. We already made them. Like, this is what we already do. And people can finally count on some job security in local manufacturers and actually see plants and factories coming back for the first time. That's why I'm super excited.
All right.
And I think it helps people live in the rural areas and work in the rural areas, which is, for me, being seeing so many families flee the region as I was growing up, like it's a privilege to be able to work here. I feel special that I haven't had to leave for long periods of time and come back, right? Like I've been able to find a home and work here, and that's what I think other people deserve as well.
Okay. Well, I guess part of it too, and I'm running out of time here, and I've blown right past the commercial break, and we're heading to the hard news here in about a minute and a half, Brian. So I hope you'll stick around and join us for hour 2 here as well of what's on your mind. So what are some of the things, if a data center is built, what is there beyond the data center? I mean, are we looking at additional transmission lines that are going to come into the area that will interrupt the sight line of the mountains to our east?
I really hope not, right? So I think what we have in Western PA is this very unique opportunity because of all these coal-fired facilities that honestly I thought were going to be there for decades. They already have the wires. They already have the transmission. It's already existing, right? It was sending power the other way, right? But can be very easily repurposed for data centers. Now, I do think there are going to be some data centers built that are going to cause new lines. Absolutely. I think it's going to happen. But I think from a Western PA perspective, we ought to be working not to have that be necessary. We ought to be putting these things where there is existing transmission lines. Like, absolutely. That's one of the great things about the data center boom is that it allows us to reuse those coal-fired sites in a way that they would have just been empty for decades.
Okay. Brian, I hope you stick around. But I got to go to Fox News right now. So you going to stick around for us?
Yeah, I'll stick around.
Great.
Sounds great.
I'll be back with you in about 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, this is WMBS Uniontown Fox News, 2 o'clock.
President Trump is vowing a U.S. response. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. After the downing of an American helicopter, a crash now blamed on Iran.
President Trump's Iranians shot down a U.S. Apache helicopter Monday patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. The 2 pilots were rescued, and the president says both are safe and uninjured. But in a social media post, President Trump says the U.S., out of necessity, must respond to this attack. He did not detail what the U.S. response will be. The potential escalation comes just hours after President Trump expressed optimism a deal to end the war could be signed in the next 2 or 3 days.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. 2 senior U.S. officials tell Fox an Iranian drone shot down the helicopter. CENTCOM says the crew members were rescued by a Sea drone, an unmanned surface vehicle. A CENTCOM spokesman telling Fox that was an operational first for the U.S. military. Primaries underway in 4 states with a lot of attention on the Senate race in Maine.
On the Democratic side, the controversial leading candidate, a man named Grant Plattner. He is an oysterman. He is a Marine and Army veteran, a self-proclaimed foe of the oligarchy, facing another rough headline, courtesy of his former political director, titled, "I know firsthand why Grant Plattner shouldn't be a U.S. Senator." In the Washington Post opinion piece, Genevieve McDonald writes, Grant Plattner is not someone who would be good for Maine or for the country. He exhibits a pattern of dishonest behavior that is impossible to ignore.
Fox's Molly Line in Portland, Maine. Plattner has said the claims are politically motivated. The winning Democrat will face longtime Republican Senator Susan Collins this fall. Voters are also picking candidates for governor in Maine and South Carolina, for governor in Nevada, and for House races in all 3 states, plus North Dakota. Just getting word of a tentative contract deal for stadium workers near Los Angeles, averting a strike ahead of the opening World Cup match for the U.S. men's soccer team this Friday. America is listening to Fox News.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Evacuations in southern Indiana over extreme flash flooding.
They're taking shelter on rooftops with others trapped from over 8 inches of rain in Lanesville, Indiana, where the rapid rise of floodwaters has Shelby Steele and her co-workers at Harrison Bank in Lanesville.
Trying to sit on desks. We have called 911. They said that fire departments are going to be bringing boats because there's a Dollar General in front of us and they're probably stranded too.
Harrison County EMS reporting live power lines in the floodwaters, that propane tanks are floating. Right now, rescue crews from multiple counties are responding. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Charges of human trafficking at a notorious mansion in Washington state.
Prosecutors charge a 21-year-old entrepreneur led a scheme to recruit young women to come live in a Bellevue, Washington rental mansion and create explicit online content on the OnlyFans app, but then started controlling their finances and accounts with violence and abuse, pumping them up with Adderall, making them work long hours with more and more explicit on-camera demands. One victim, talking about how she felt suicidal, was handed a gun and told to do it. Suspect Nikita Tayakalo charged with human trafficking, money laundering, organized crime after a SWAT raid on the OnlyFans house, notorious for hosting parties with hundreds of underage kids.
Fox's Therese Crowley. A Missouri man admits his role in a kidnapping plot linked to a Bitcoin theft.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Connecticut, David X. Sullivan, says Saif Fike, who is 22 and from St. Louis, Missouri, pleaded guilty to what's known as a Hobbs Act robbery in connection with the 2024 failed robbery turned kidnapping connected to a cryptocurrency theft of $245 million. Sullivan says in an attempt to steal some of the Bitcoin, Fike and others, including his brother, planned and coordinated the attempted kidnapping.
Fox's Tony J. Powers, his brother, and 6 others have also pleaded guilty. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Now the local, district, and statewide news. Being brought to you by Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, your Bryant dealer. Keeping you warm and cozy in winter and cool and comfortable in summer with a quality Bryant gas furnace or air conditioning system. And now the news.
Good afternoon. It's 2:05. It's cloudy and 75 outside of our Davis & Davis Attorneys at Law Studios. Fayette County's personal injury attorney since 1976. Your local station, 590 AM, 101.1 FM, WMBS. I'm TJ DeStefano. We'll check sports and weather in just a bit. National Weather Service in Pittsburgh Monday confirmed 6 tornadoes touched down in western Pennsylvania due to the storms on Saturday. 2 were in Fayette County and EF1 starting just east of Star Junction and ending just north of Vanderbilt. Another EF1 touchdown in Lynn near Brownsville. 3 tornadoes touched down in Washington County, one southeast of Ellsworth near the intersection of Beesville Road and Cherry Street, another in Centerville near Conti Road, and another in Beesville near Glendon Lane. There was also a tornado just off Boy Scout Camp Road in South Huntington Township, Westmoreland County. Also in Westmoreland, straight-line winds between 90 and 100 miles an hour caused damage in Scottdale. Following the recent shutdown of Spirit Airlines, Arnold Palmer Regional Airport near Latrobe is now at risk of losing its remaining regular charter service. The company that operates the airport's 2 monthly charter flights to casino destinations like Atlantic City and Reno has notified the Westmoreland County Airport Authority that future operations are in jeopardy. To continue running these flights, the airport will need to reach a new agreement with the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, which had previously planned to reassign its local staff following the loss of commercial service. Operators of Kennywood are putting an all-day chaperone policy in place for the rest of the year. Now anyone 15 and younger will need to be under the supervision of an adult who is over the age of 21 at all times. Each adult can bring in 6 kids and must fill out a chaperone registration form when entering. The rules are not being enforced for school groups or ticketed groups with churches, summer camps, or sports teams. Researchers in Finland say bumblebees' brains are buzzing a lot more than previously thought. Tammy Trujillo will tell us more.
They say the bumblebees are solving problems similar to the tests used with chimps and elephants. The University of Alu-led team says untrained bees moved a small ball under a fake flower, climbed on it, and reached sugar water overhead. Scientists say the results point to goal-driven problem solving and not just instinct or luck. Bumblebees help pollinate food crops, but researchers say they're now nearly 50% less likely to be seen in parts of North America than they were some 50 years ago. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
WMBS time is 2:08. Sports and weather are next.
439-2323. For 24-hour emergency service, call us when you need. We're Fayette's Heating and Air Conditioning, your service company.
When it's sweltering outside, you'll be cool inside with central air conditioning from Bryant, the people that know cool. And it's easy to have a central air conditioning system installed in your home. Simply call on your Bryant dealer, Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, located near the Laurel Mall on Route 119, north of Uniontown. The phone number is 439-2323. Let Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning rescue you from the sticky, humid summer weather. Remember that number for Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, your Bryant dealer, 439-2323.
Call Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, 439-2323, 439-2323, 439-2323.
In sports, Pirates will start a 6-game homestand tonight. They'll host the LA Dodgers at PNC Park. Paul Skeens will go for the Bucks, who are 34-32 and have dropped 3 in a row. Pre-game 6:15, first pitch is 6:40 on WMBS. Game 4, the Stanley Cup Final, is tonight out in Vegas. Canes and Golden Knights, with the Golden Knights leading that series 2-1. Face-off is at 8. Game 4, the NBA Finals, will be tomorrow night as the Spurs visit the Knicks. Knicks lead the series 2-1. Tip-off tomorrow night is at 8:30.
The local, district, and statewide news has been brought to you by Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, your Bryant dealer. Route 119 north of Uniontown, located near Laurel Mall. Phone 439-2323.
This Weather Watch is brought to you by Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. Is it time to find a home that fits your lifestyle? Visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with beautiful, energy-efficient homes packed with features you've been dreaming about at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51.
Cloudy, a few showers, maybe a storm this afternoon, 80. Occasional showers tonight, 70, and more showers tomorrow with a high of 81. Right now, cloudy and 75 outside the Davis & Davis Attorneys at Law Studios at 2:11 on this Tuesday. I'm TJ DeStefano. And up next, hour 2 of What's on Your Mind with Russ Rhodes on WMBS.
This Weather Watch was brought to you by Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. Is it time to find a home that fits your lifestyle? Visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with beautiful, energy-efficient homes packed with features you've been dreaming about at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51.
Hi, this is State Representative Charity Grim-Krupa, and I'm personally inviting you to the Liberty Bell Ball. On Friday, July 3rd, join us as we celebrate America's 250th birthday at the Hopwood Social Hall. This historic evening will feature music, dancing, and an unforgettable atmosphere, celebrating freedom, faith, and the American spirit. Formal attire is encouraged but not required. Patriotic and Western wear are always welcome. And this year, you could become our first Miss Liberty Bell or Mr. Lafayette in our exciting People's Choice Contest, honoring patriots who embody liberty and love of country. The Liberty Bell Ball is also a political fundraiser, supporting my continued work as your state representative. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or find us on Facebook at Charity Grim-Krupa for PA Rep. Don't miss the Liberty Bell Ball, Friday, July 3rd, where Fayette County will celebrate America 250 and party like it's 1776. May God bless America. Paid for by Charity for PA Rep.
Wind, hail, sudden leaks. When your roof takes a beating, we're here for you at AR Roofing and Remodeling. We're a locally and veteran-owned contractor, available 24/7 for repairs. As an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor, we get the job done right. Call 724-550-3064. or visit arremodels.com for your free estimate.
Are you looking to list or sell your house? Now is the time to let the professionals at Caldwell Banker Laurel Ridge Realty help you with all of your real estate needs. Caldwell Banker Laurel Ridge Realty has two convenient locations to better serve you. In Uniontown area, 724-437-7100, or in Connellsville area, 724-628-7200, and speak with one of our real estate professionals. Visit our website, caldwellbanker.com. We have been proudly serving Western Pennsylvania area for over 30 years and look forward to helping you with all of your real estate needs. Broker Paul Borge Jr.
Are you considering a project design and don't know where to start? K2 Engineering offers a wide range of professional civil, architectural, and municipal services to meet your individual project needs. Our versatility, combined with our personalized approach, is what sets us apart as a full-service engineering and consultation firm. To learn more about our services, please visit us on the web at www.k2engineering.net. K2 Engineering, where customer service is our priority. Tired of running out of hot water? Koval Building Supply at 40 Monroe Avenue in Uniontown is your local source for reliable tank and tankless gas water heaters. Whether you're replacing an old unit or upgrading to an energy-efficient tankless system, we have options to fit your home and budget. Our knowledgeable team is ready to help you get dependable hot water when you need it most. Call Koval today at 724-437-8824 or visit kovalsupply.com. Koval Building Supply. Everything you need to keep your home running comfortably.
Hello, Uniontown and Fayette County. This is Attorney Vince Quattrini of the Quattrini Law Group. Be sure to tune in at 11:25, the first and third Mondays of each month on this station. The Quattrini Law Group attorneys will be providing guidance on what to do when you're injured at work or in a motor vehicle accident. We'll also share tips when applying for Social Security disability benefits, when appealing a veteran service-connected disability claim. We do it every day, all day. You can also set up an appointment in our Uniontown or Somerset office. The consultation is free. Call Quattrini Law Group today at 724-439-8300 or Google Quattrini Law Group. That's 724-439-8300. Have a great day.
Your local station, WMVS.
The views and opinions presented by the host, guests, or callers on this program do not necessarily represent the positions of WMBS Radio.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of What's on Your Mind. I'm Russ Rhodes, your host, talking with Brian Kennedy, Senior Vice President of Operations and Government Affairs at the Pittsburgh Technology Council. We're going to chat with Brian some more as soon as I let you know that What's on Your Mind has been brought to you, or is being brought to you, by Gary's Auto Sales, Hicks & Buzz Drugstore, Coldwell Banker, Laurel Ridge Realty, K2 Engineering, Madewell Services, Full Lawn Care and Cleaning Services, Bright Stripes, Seal Coating and Line Striping, and AR Roofing and Remodeling. Brian, are you still with us there, sir?
I am with you. Right?
Excellent. Fantastic. So I'm going to string a couple things together here leading to this question here. According to the United States Department of Energy's Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, in 2023, data centers consumed 176 terawatt hours of electricity, accounting for more than 4% of the country's total electricity consumption. For reference, they say 176 terawatt hours could power 16 million average American homes for a year. So with that, if data centers are going to be bringing in their own power source, why is it then that we can expect our electric bills to still go up?
It's a question that I think you have to have a PhD in electric regulatory markets to completely understand. I'm not going to tell you that I understand it, other than to say that electric rates have been going up for a while, and they weren't all attributable to data centers. I think what's very fair to say is electric rates will go up more if the rate of data centers being put on the grid exceeds the rate of new power being put onto the grid. It's very fair to say that.
Okay.
And so I think that's why you hear so many people saying data centers are going to cause power rates to skyrocket. And, the local, you mentioned Penn Power and you mentioned Duquesne Light. So those are local distribution companies. And it's their job to kind of act like an air traffic controller. So that if you're a data center and you're like, hey, I'm coming to Beaver County, I'm going to hook up this month, just send me my bill. That's not a thing. Like that's not how the process works. Like you actually have to apply to Duquesne Light. And Duquesne Light has to determine if they're able to deliver that power to you and not disrupt their existing customer base. And in a lot of cases, it takes a long time to get approved for that power.
We just, as an example, we just had a local business here in Fayette County. They expanded. They built a whole brand new facility to help grow their business, and it took them months and months and months to get approved by West Penn Power to put electric into their new facility.
We're hearing it every week from manufacturers that, as I mentioned, that are members, like our dues-paying members, are calling and saying, "What can you do about insert name of company? I can't get the power we need here in Butler County or here in Westmoreland County," and it's a real problem. And it's that same thing that I was telling you about the underinvestment in the grid that's gone on. Right, our grid is not in good shape. And so that's not just slowing data centers from getting approved, it's slowing manufacturers from getting approved. The solution is going to require a lot of capital to invest in that grid and bring it up to speed. And the good news is if data centers have one thing that's going to be great, it's capital. And it's capital to make those kind of investments. And keep in mind, they're buying things in those investments called switchgear, transformers, turbines. There's a great steel company in Butler County called Cleveland Cliffs. They're one of the last, if not the last, producer of grain-oriented electrical-grade steel in the United States. And that's the kind of steel that goes into transformers, and when you send power to it, it doesn't melt because the grains are all aligned. And I wasn't very good in chemistry either, so I can't explain that. But those jobs, essentially, that are being created out there at Cleveland Cliffs are also data center jobs, right? So this is the power industry having investment put into it is so wonderful for Pennsylvania because we are the empire of lights. And people may have forgot it for a little while, but they're not. These stories that I'm telling you can Google all of them. You can find all of them. It's actually happening. They're real jobs. And all those companies, by the way, would love for me to tell your listeners that they're hiring right now. So go to all those companies that I mentioned, Mitsubishi and Hitachi and Coherent. They're all hiring from Western being.
I fully understand, and I think my listeners do as well, the concept of supply and demand. If the demand outdoes or, goes beyond the supply, then price is going to go up. So, but with a data center coming in and with the amount of electricity that is consumed by data centers, is it fair to burden the homeowner with because of that supply has gone up or the demand has gone up? Is there a way to, keep my bill the same and charge data centers more?
They're doing that in Virginia. That's actually what they're doing in Northern Virginia. So no, it's not fair that you, Russ, and your station would have to pay more for your electricity so that a data center can have it. And it shouldn't be allowed to happen. I have to tell you, if you look at the big states with big data centers, the opposite appears to be happening, right? So what I mean by that, so not only are commercial power rates 22% lower in Virginia, the residential power rates are 22% lower. My theory, and I'm happy to have other people interpret it and tell me I'm wrong, my theory is that a massive investment in a very modern power grid in places like Loudoun County have generated efficiencies for both the data centers and the residential customers. So I think that and People also, like, if you buy one apple at the grocery store and you buy a bag of apples, there's a huge difference in cost.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're buying the amount of electricity that Northern Virginia is buying for their data centers, and you're investing in the modern electrical infrastructure you need to do it, that's going to create economies of scale that allow the prices to be depressed. And you can challenge it, but you do have to acknowledge that the top data center states haven't seen their rates soar higher than Pennsylvania's. They're all 20 to 22% lower than ours. So I do think that what you said is where we should start. Data centers should not be allowed to come in and raise our prices, right? But we have to acknowledge if we're going to do that, we do have to put some new generation online. And also one other thing that I want to talk about because Western PA has a critical role to play. Not only do we have to put new generation online, we have to find a way to bring up renewables in line so that they can be used 24 hours a day, right? This is super important. Data centers are the absolute best customers of wind and solar power. If you're someone who's trying to get finance from the markets to build a new solar facility or a new wind facility, signing a long-term power contract with a data center is the ticket to get your financing. And that's the number one. But the thing that's stopping new wind and solar is financing, right? It's capital. So if you can sign a long-term power agreement with a data center, bam, you can go forward. But here's the other thing. You're going to be producing power, at times of day where maybe it's not as much in demand, and when it is in demand, you won't be producing power. We have this really cool company here in Western PA called EOS Energy, which has developed grid-level storage, where they can store power from wind and solar, and they can store power, maybe from the middle of the night when you have, baseload power, making it very cheap. They can store it and then release it back into the grid the next day during peak power demand and help keep that price, under control. That company is doing a $325 million investment in a new factory and new headquarters in Northern Allegheny right now. This is just one small, company that's doing, nearly a third of $1 billion in just one major project.
Okay. The last hour, towards the end of the hour, we started touching on building in old brown areas where plants used to be. So that in conjunction with, you go down just about any highway and you're going to see an abandoned warehouse, an abandoned factory. A company moved in and they were there for 10 years and they pulled out. Why and why can't data centers be going into these type of facilities now to repurpose them? I mean, like they do with the mall that you're currently located in. Why can't more of that take place as opposed to taking up farmland?
Yeah, I mean, we need farmland for food, so we shouldn't be building data centers on farmland. That's part of the Pennsylvania advantage. I like what's been happening so far is that we've taken pieces of land that were going to be on the burden of the taxpayers to clean them up, right? These coal facilities. It was going to cost me and you money to clean those things up, and then we were going to hope and pray that somebody would build a manufacturing plant there that you and I couldn't name, right? And so this is where, and they have the transmission lines, right? And they have the licenses and the rights of way. They have got so many assets in those sites. It's a no-brainer. We just needed somebody with capital to come along and want it and use them up. We should listen. Like I live a mile from the from Ross Park Mall. That's where my house is right now. As I mentioned, I live in Allegheny County today. A lot of light pollution, right? A lot of sound, certainly a lot of traffic, right? I'm no stranger to having less than ideal neighbors, but the reality is we have so many brownfield sites that are away from residential areas that are already places where they had been consuming enormous amounts of water at those sites. Data centers are going to consume almost nothing compared to what some of those other uses were. They've been making enormous amounts of noise that data centers won't even approach, and they create a lot of traffic, which data centers won't do. So this is part of what we should be doing. So I do think a lot of the economic development authorities has started to look at their brownfields in a different way, right? As not as like a blight on the community, but as a potential asset for, and I want to say this, like very importantly, you should be looking at those sites not just for a data center, but you should be talking to everyone who manufactures parts of the energy grid, because they're all looking to build factories. So this is something, if your economic development team hasn't heard that message yet, pull up a list of the top 50 manufacturers of transformers and switch gears and electrical grade steel. They're all building factories to keep up with the data center boom. And we are the place to build them. Like Western PA is where those people need to come here. We have the workforce and the historical expertise in those industries to get them going right away.
You touched on something else, water usage here. There's the open loop and the closed loop, and the open loop, I'm reading, can be up to 5 million gallons of day usage to cool these data centers, whereas the closed loop system is not quite, but close to just a one-time top off. Are data centers trending more into that closed loop technology for their data centers? Is water consumption becoming less of a concern?
Yes. Yes, and sometimes no. So there's the third way to cool data centers. You have the closed loop, open loop. The third way is using air, right? Using very expensive HVAC equipment that uses a pretty significant portion of the electricity on the site. One of the ways that you can reduce that electricity usage and therefore the carbon footprint of the data center is to using water to cool it. And what you're doing is you're evaporating the same way the coal-fired power facility did, right?
Right.
Same way. You're making steam, essentially. You're not destroying the water. You're making steam and it'll rain. And we're not a place that's short on rain. So when you use water, it's because you're trying to reduce your electric footprint, you're trying to reduce your carbon footprint, and the third reason is because it's abundantly available. Right now, data centers exist in deserts. They exist in Las Vegas. They exist in Arizona, and those places don't have abundance of water to use. And so they have, through innovation, developed these closed-loop systems that work a lot like your car. Right, you put water and some antifreeze. I don't know if they put antifreeze in their data center water, but they put it in one time, and it largely circulates throughout the life of the data center and cools it. That is becoming more of the trend. I can't promise that every data center is going to do that, because if you're right next to a river that's sending billions of gallons a minute by you, like, it might use that water. It may do that. And importantly, when you hear these numbers about, how much water a data center uses, it's a lot. It's like when I hear it, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. It's a lot, though. Sometimes it's just as much as a local golf course uses. Just as much less, in fact, than most manufacturers of the same capital investment would be using. About the same as a major hospital would use. So, and you certainly in Western PA have an abundance of that type of water. And again, it's not like we're pumping it full of toxic chemicals. It's being largely evaporated and will return back in the form of rain.
Okay.
But yeah, the technology is really exciting. As I mentioned, what we're hearing, from the first community meeting up in Beaver County was that that technology is being championed, closed loop technology up in Beaver County, and they're going to put water in, once and just use it continually to keep their data center cool. There's a similar operation up in, and I don't know if you would call it closed loop or hybrid, but up in Boyerstown, PA, there's the Iron Mountain Data Center, which is actually in a cave underground. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Elon Musk made the place famous by talking about the people that have to take an elevator to get government employee records. But they're in an underground cave, and there's an underground lake with I think it's like a couple hundred acres. I might be making that up. You can Google that and check that out. I mean, but a couple 100-acre underwater lake, and they just circulate that water through the lake in their data center to keep it cool. So it's a huge, actually, energy savings to do something like that. Yeah, a lot of room for innovation in data centers. We're driving some of that innovation, right? Like the Coherent investment they just got from NVIDIA, $2 billion, was to drive innovation in photonics in data centers, to have photonic connections rather than using a lot of copper and wires that create heat and waste energy, for example.
Okay. Brian, I got to take a quick little break here. But when I come back, I want to chat about the vice chair of the Board of Supervisors for Loudoun County and some recommendations that he's come out with and was presented last week as well. So I want to touch on that a little bit more and some other things as well. So just kind of give you a heads up on what's to come there, all righty?
Great.
This is What's on Your Mind with Brian Kennedy from the Pittsburgh Technology, where'd we go here on my note? Yeah, Pittsburgh Technology Council. So talking data centers, AI data centers, and we're going to continue with that conversation right after this.
If you are looking for a trusted local law firm with a strong commitment to their clients, look no further than Zebley Law Offices. Attorney Zebley has been practicing law in Fayette County for more than 4 decades. Although specializing in bankruptcy, Zebley also handles real estate matters, civil suits, collections, wills, powers of attorney, and more. If you need legal help, go with a name you recognize and trust. Call Zebley Law Offices today at 724-439-9200.
You can go to Big Box Medical Office.
Now serving number 3,943.
Or
Hi, come on in. How are you?
for personal, professional health care you can trust, see Dr. Paul Hardley and nurse practitioners Tara Bozak, Jessica Reckhart, and Stacy Morris, proudly serving our community for over 30 years. Need care today? Walk-ins are always welcome. For your primary care, call Dr. Paul Hartley at 724-437-1109 or visit ppcp.org. Or
Serving number 3,944.
warm weather means you'll be spending more time outside. So enjoy your deck or patio with retractable or fixed awnings from Lifetime Awnings. Made in the USA with manufacturer and customers guarantees, Lifetime Awnings products last. Lifetime Awnings is veteran-owned and operated with a 10% discount to all military veterans and their families. Call Lifetime Awnings 724-554-6067 or email John, the owner, at lifetimeawningsusa@gmail.com.
Bad hair day? Bad day at the office? Bad day behind the wheel? Hey, stuff happens, even to the best of us. At least your car insurance rate doesn't have to take a hit. Get Erie Rate Lock from Erie Insurance. Gives you a great rate that stays put until you change a car, driver, or your address. Plus, seriously good service. Now that's something to smile about.
Your Erie agent in Uniontown and Ross Traver Township is Sproul's Insurance Group, 724-437-9812, or go to sproulsinsurance.com.
Erie Rate Lock does not guarantee continued insurance coverage and is not available in all states.
It's gorgeous outside, which means it's time to get to Bittersweet Cafe of Farmington. From their incredible daily lunch specials featuring farm-to-table fresh ingredients to their refreshing drinks, frozen treats, smoothies, and iced tea, Bittersweet Cafe has something for everyone. Enjoy this beautiful spot nestled in the Laurel Highland Mountains, just a few miles outside of Ohiopyle on Farmington, Ohiopyle Road. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi everyone, this is Kelly Clark with Autoland Hyundai in downtown Uniontown. 724-208-5281. What makes buying your next vehicle for me worthwhile? I make it a very easy 5-step process. You look, you shop, you ask, you decide. And I listen. Kelly Clark, Autoland Hyundai, 724-208-5281. 724-208-5281. Kelly Clark, Autoland Hyundai. I'll make you a good deal.
Having Hicks & Baugh's drugstore in Uniontown means reliable, quality, and friendly service. Pharmacists Stephen Harper and Seth Miller are ready to answer your health questions and handle all your prescriptions. They offer free delivery, mail-out service, and accept all utility payments, all part of their good neighbor way of doing business. Visit Hicks & Baugh's at 304 Morgantown Street in Uniontown or call 724-437-2828. Open Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday until 3.
Welcome back to What's on Your Mind. I'm Russ Rhodes, your host, on the phone with Brian Kennedy, Senior Vice President
for Operations and Government Affairs at the Pittsburgh Technology Council. AI data centers is the topic of conversation today. Brian, again, thank you for joining us. You at some point, and I forget the context, you had mentioned the life of the facilities. Is there a life? Is there a lifespan that we can expect? Because I bring that up because technology is forever changing. You know what? We'll just say a 1 million square foot facility today might only need 10,000 tomorrow.
Yeah, in fact, in the data center world, that's been happening. I mean, you used to be able to fit, on a server rack maybe $10,000 worth of servers, and today you can fit millions of dollars worth of servers on the same size rack. So you're seeing certainly a lot of efficiencies of space being generated. Putting my Western PA hat on, I hope these things last 10 to 20 years and they rebuild the power grid and they bring, this is the other thing, they bring world-class fiber services out to places like Fayette County and Beaver County, and then they go away and they make room for us to reshore some manufacturing from China using that new energy grid that they helped finance. I guess my data centers probably wouldn't love to hear me say that, but that's a very real possibility, right? Like I've been, when you're at a place so long like this, you see booms and busts, right? Mm-hmm. Very real possibility that we're going to build too many of these data centers, right? We're going to overbuild, and that's like think about that. That's great if that happens, right? If you build all this, you build a huge fiber pipe coming out to Westmoreland County or Indiana County, and a huge redundant power supply that's coming out to those former industrial sites. Wow, it doesn't take much to tear down a warehouse, which is essentially what they are, and put that back into industrial use, but with a modern 21st century infrastructure to back it up. So that's, I guess, my secret desire. Don't tell the data centers I said that. Is that we overbuild and and that we put these former coal-fired sites back online for manufacturing jobs. There's actually somebody from Springdale, one of the people that showed up at the Springdale community meeting and said, I don't want a data center, I want a manufacturer. I'm like, I'm with that person. Like, I'm with them. And that's the reality, right? If you want a manufacturer to come to your county, most likely it's going to be a manufacturer that's building something that's going into data centers, because that's who's building factories today. So yeah, I don't know what the lifespan is. I can tell you this. People who say that you're going to build a data center and then the construction jobs go away are definitely wrong. There's constant improvements of new equipment. As you know, like this equipment lifespan is sometimes 3, 5, 6 years tops, right? So you are constantly refreshing this equipment, and you need professionals who are going to come in and install that, and in manufacturing, new parts that are going to go in there into those facilities. So that's part of the employment benefit, right? Is that these places constantly need new equipment, and hopefully, are putting in new equipment that also benefits the community. And that's why I got really excited at break when you said you wanted to talk about the vice chair from Loudoun County and some of his recommendations.
Yes,
I think that
Mike Turner. And what I took from his presentation, he did this via a video. He was not live. But what I took away from his presentation and from the other gentleman up on the panel, that, well, when it comes to data centers, the communities are pretty much in charge and they have the upper hand. In other words, the communities are able to say, if you want to come here, you're going to have to do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, and by the way, we're going to throw in QRT as well.
Yeah. I saw your show the other day where you said that the meeting would have gone a lot better if he had spoken first. And I spoke first, right? And I absolutely fully agree with you. He did such a phenomenal job talking about what I think people need to know is that the local communities, not the state, not the county, the local communities really should have all the power. And, I have a good friend who leads government affairs for Google's data center business. She's not working on any that I know of, at least she told me in Western PA. But she told me, she said, look, when we come to a community, we have to make sure that they know they have all the power. And we know we have to earn our welcome when we come there. He said, they're going to write the ordinances for sound and for setbacks. we're either going to be able to comply with them or not. And if we can't, we're not going to force our way into a community. Now, you brought up this idea of low benefit plan.
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. You brought up real quickly that data centers often bring with them a local benefits plan.
Yes.
And that's separate and aside from the property taxes, right? So, we mentioned one in Beaver County that was going from paying around $10,000 to paying, I think, somewhere in excess of $400,000 in projected just local property taxes. So that's not what their local community benefit plan is. A lot of these groups come in and work with the schools and work with the parks, and they find out what the community really wants, and they do some above and beyond investments. For me, I would like their local community benefit plan be buy local, right? If they need to buy equipment, especially manufactured equipment, that they commit to buying local. And that's one of the things that we're doing here at the Pittsburgh Technology Council, along with our partner at Catalyst Connection, is we're creating a supply chain initiative for data centers. So that when they come to town and they start talking about a community benefits plan, right from the beginning, we're going to put on there, we want the opportunity to put local suppliers in front of you. I hosted a data center summit, educational, had 600 people come to it about 2 months ago, and AWS came to town to speak at it. And while he was here, I'm like, hey, instead of just speaking at my summit, can I take you out to Washington County and show you a company called Starline LeGrand that has 800 employees working 3 shifts building equipment for your data centers, right? And he, of course, had never heard of them before and didn't realize that there were 800 people working to build stuff for his data centers. And from what I heard from his team, he hasn't stopped talking about it back at AWS, about how eye-opening the experience was to see things being built that go in and power data centers. Those are the kind of things that we want, we the Pittsburgh Technology Council would like. We'd like to see them buy more of the power supplies from people like PA Transformer in Washington County and Starline LeGrand in Washington County. Because there's nothing, as we say, there's nothing more powerful than the dignity of a job. And that's one of the best things that any data center can do, is to bring more local jobs in the state of Pennsylvania.
So back to Mike Turner here, and the communities have all the power, and this is where life of these centers come back into play, and the equipment as well. Are the communities able to put a worst case scenario clause into any agreement? And where I'm going with this, you cease to exist. You take everything with you and you clean everything up before you go. We don't want to drive by and find a computer sitting on the side of the road waiting for our local waste management company to come and haul it away. You're responsible for taking care of all of that and for recycling what can be recycled.
That's a great question. I'm not an attorney, so I can't answer. But if you brought like a local solicitor on, certainly that's something you could talk about. And not just if they go out of business, but I want to know what their recycling plan is, and they should be transparent. Like what? And by the way, I've got a couple electronic recyclers here in Pittsburgh that would love to have that equipment. Right? Speaking of local community benefit, would love to recycle that and pull the rare earth elements out of it and put them back to use. I would definitely ask that question to somebody like a local solicitor who can answer that. But he also had some other recommendations, right? Really encourage the local municipalities to understand that sound ordinances aren't just going to be applicable to the volume, but also there's some kind of sounds that we don't hear with our ears, but we can feel.
Yes.
And he's definitely encouraging people to get educated about that. He's definitely talking about emissions and backup and making sure they're using state-of-the-art equipment so that the pollution that comes from their backup power systems is minimized whenever possible. I thought he just did a fantastic job in creating a roadmap on how to make sure that the power is kept where it needs to be, which is with the people. My favorite one he had was end by right development. I think was his last one, right? That you should never have a data center just come in and be allowed to just build a data center and not have to come before the people and talk about what they're doing.
Right.
He also brought up something that I learned the hard way was sensitive in Fayette County, was these NDAs. He said, don't ever sign an NDA. If you're a local government official, and I don't know that any of your local government officials have signed an NDA. I don't think they have, actually. But he said, don't ever sign an NDA. Like, be transparent with people.
They've admitted to signing NDAs with our local economic development organization.
Ah, I got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which doesn't mean they don't know what's going on as far as, data center plans. They could have learned it through, not that they signed with the data center, but maybe the data center was talking with the economic arm, and see where I'm going on there. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I said down there, and I want to bring it up again. In most of Western PA, the communities that have come out fighting the data centers, and they've been fighting what we call phantom data centers.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that what you have is somebody owns a piece of land. Sometimes it's the Economic Development Authority, right? Like in a particular county, they might own a brownfield,
mm-hmm.
and they're hoping that someone will come and use it, including up to maybe a data center. Then there's just other people who've owned large tracts of land. They're like, hey, I'd love to, get rich quick and sell my property to a data center. They've heard all these, they're gonna get 1,000% return on investment. And the reality is there just aren't that many data centers coming. There just aren't. Most of those people who are announcing that they want to market their property for a data center are never going to see a data center. The properties don't have power. They don't have fiber connectivity. They don't have access to water. They have an owner who wants to get rid of their property. And so that creates a lot of attention, right? The community starts
mm-hmm.
paying attention at that point. But then there's no data center operator who can come to the meeting and say, hey, yeah, we agree with you. We don't want to use water. Hey, we're going to use state-of-the-art
mm-hmm.
sound damping equipment. Let's tell you about it. You don't have a data, and that's what's mostly going on in Western PA. Mostly it's the landowners who've been ginning up the attention and then trying to answer questions that they can't answer because it's not their data center.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then when you do see, when the data center's named, like out in Beaver County, you see the resistance start high and then slowly but surely go away or decline because they come in and they answer questions transparently, they're honest, and they address and respond to concerns. When there's actually a data center there, the approval process goes a lot smoother. In Fayette County, I don't know of any data center that's publicly come out and said, hey, we're thinking about a data center there. And so when we think about a data center coming to Fayette, we think of the loudest one, the biggest one, the one that uses the most water,
mm-hmm.
and it's like slaying dragons, right? Like it's a very scary thing, and people have every right to be afraid of it,
mm-hmm.
but they don't have to because they have the power. Go to your local officials and follow those guidelines given by the vice chairman of the Loudoun County Commissioners. I think they were perfect. I don't think there was one thing in those suggestions that I would argue against from an industry perspective.
I don't think I would either. Now, I want to touch on noise, and you probably don't have an answer for this one. A lot of the studies are dealing with, okay, I can hear it, or you feel the noise. The two different types of noise generation. Being a rural county, farmland, has there been any study on how noise affects farm animals?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't
mm-hmm.
know the answer to that. Let me reiterate, we shouldn't be building data centers on farmland.
Sure, yes.
Right, we're in residential areas.
Yes.
We have plenty of brownfields in Western PA we can put to use for this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if somebody on listening there owns a farmland they want to sell, I get it, but let's keep growing corn on that farmland. I did hear somebody in a meeting, and I don't know if someone was joking, saying that, it causes autism in dogs. I don't know.
That's a new one to me.
Yeah. But I will say this, everything that you hear sometimes has a little bit of root and truth. And so you don't want to dismiss what people say. Somebody at a hearing said, this is going to increase the temperature of the air by 14 degrees within 3 miles of my house.
Oh.
And, I was like, that's crazy, right?
Micro world climate change.
Yeah, and that's bonkers. And so I dismissed it. And then what I did? I asked Claude, hey, Claude, is this true? Claude said, hey, let me show you a study from ASU University in Arizona. And they actually did show that up to 1/3 of a mile from a data center, your temperature could go up by an average of 1.3 degrees. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was, now 14 degrees was not supported.
No.
Right? But there was a kernel of truth in that. And it was important to learn that so that when someone brings it up in a meeting, you can talk about it. In industry, 1.3 degrees, and they tested 3 different data center sites in the Arizona area. The testing went on between June and October when the average temperature of the air was 106 degrees. And so a third of the mile away from these 3 data centers, because they were using air cooling systems, right, to cool them, the temperature was 1.3 degrees higher. Now, I don't know if you're from, and by the way, there's no humidity in the air, so it's like a perfect situation to have that occur.
Yeah.
The results couldn't be replicated in Western PA, for sure, because of, just the difference in our, and also, I don't know if any of your listeners can tell the difference between 106 degrees and 107 degrees.
I was going to say that. Hey,
right?
Brian,
Like, I can't.
Yeah.
But
Brian, I got to take my last break. So bear with me, and I've got kind of like 2 final questions to present to you before we run out of time here. So I appreciate your time. We're talking with, Brian Kennedy, Senior Vice President for Operations and Government Affairs at the Pittsburgh Technology Council. AI data centers is what we've been chatting about, and we'll do some more of that right after this.
Wind, hail, sudden leaks. When your roof takes a beating, we're here for you at AR Roofing and Remodeling. We're a locally and veteran-owned contractor, available 24/7 for repairs. As an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor, we get the job done right. Call 724-550-3064 or visit arremodels.com for your free estimate.
AR Roofing, never settle.
That sneeze was in a different zip code, and I still felt the germs.
Relax, Randy. I went to Montgomery Medical. I'm fully shielded.
Like a flu shot?
Flu, COVID, the works. If you haven't caught up on your shots yet, they'll get you sorted in minutes. It's basically a suit of armor, but with less clanking. Then do the double shot. After Montgomery Medical, head over to Renew You Medispa. I got their immunity IV drip.
A Medispa?
You relax, you hydrate, and you give your immune system a VIP upgrade.
Montgomery Medical, a family tradition of family medicine.
Do you enjoy luxury? Well, Live Casino wants to put you in the driver's seat. Ignite your drive and win a new Mercedes-Benz. Look for the specially marked slot machines near the cocktail bar and play daily for your chance to win. All it takes is one bet. Sit down, swipe in, and you could ride off in a new Mercedes-Benz GLC 300. Make your move at Live Casino, Route 30 at Westmoreland Mall. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Laurel Ridge Eye Care reminds us that vision problems may develop so slowly you don't even notice until you find yourself reading less and straining to focus. If that's happening to you, call Dr. Aaron Sobel at Laurel Ridge Eye Care for a complete vision exam. If there's one thing you shouldn't overlook, it's your vision. Laurel Ridge Eye Care and board-certified ophthalmologist Dr. Aaron Sobel remind you that early detection of eye disease can help prevent blindness. Their complete vision exams can help determine if you are developing problems. Laurel Ridge Eye Care offers full-service medical, surgical, and laser eye care with cataract surgery performed at Uniontown Hospital. Don't take chances with your eyes. Schedule your appointment today by calling Laurel Ridge Eye Care at 724-437-2222. That's 724-437-2222. All insurances are accepted, as well as Visa, MasterCard, and debit card at Laurel Ridge Eye Care, 130 West Fayette Street in the former Hockey Funeral Home.
Benjamin F. Goodwin, voted Fayette County's best attorney, and the entire award-winning Goodwin-Como Law team have been trusted by your friends and neighbors for the past 20 years. From estate planning and administration to personal injury, workers' compensation, family law, and criminal defense, they deliver dedicated, personalized representation with 2 convenient offices in Uniontown and Bell Vernon. Visit GoodwinComo.com or call them at 724-438-1616 for your free initial consultation. Goodwin Como, righting wrongs, securing justice.
Bright Stripe, Fayette County's premier asphalt seal coating professionals. Locally owned by Matt and Lexi George, Bright Stripe specializes in residential and commercial asphalt seal coating, also excelling in line striping and layouts, thermoplastic, and infrared asphalt repair. Bright Stripe has succeeded due to their commitment to quality work for 30 years. Bright Stripe, 724-437-6090, or visit bright-stripe.com. BRITE-stripe.com.
It's spring, and everything is growing, and Madewell Services is here to help. They offer full lawn care service, including spring cleanups, mulching, landscaping and planting, weekly grass cutting, power washing, and more. Madewell Services also provides professional cleaning services for your home or office, moving in or out service, party cleanups, weekly cleanings, and junk removal. Licensed and insured for peace of mind. Call Madewell Services today at 724-912-1805. That's 724-912-1805 for a free estimate.
Welcome back to What's on Your Mind. I'm with Brian Kennedy. We've got just a few minutes left, and I've got a
Couple more questions for you, Brian. This is going back to the mall the old mall where you're located. The data center there, do they supply their own power, or are they part of the on the grid?
They're on grid. Yeah, and
Okay.
there's multiple data centers here, more than just one.
Okay. And is there a difference between the data centers that are over at the facility where you work, that anything different from those that are being built on brownfields or in cow fields that are, 10 million square feet or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. These are traditional data centers here, what people would call co-location data centers.
Uh-huh.
It's more than one company. A lot of your listeners might have their data here stored, but the scale is what's different. They do use power from the grid here, not nearly as much as what these AI data centers are going to.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, that was a quiz. Now, is there any like code words people need to be out on the lookout for that, well, no, it's not data centers. It's something else, but it is an actual data center. So in other words, we hear the word mainframe. Is mainframe different from data centers?
Yeah. Yes. Mainframes are a term that are maybe from the 90s or 80s, but a lot of people remember them.
Okay.
No, you're looking AI data centers. That's the most.
Okay.
AI data centers is what people are most worked up about. 'Cause like I said, there's data centers all across the landscape
right.
here. No one's worked up about any of them.
All right. And I guess finally, if you were moving to Fayette County, would you move next door to one of these hyper data centers?
I don't think so, because I wouldn't live next to a brownfield.
Okay.
Right? And that's where they ought to go. They ought to go to a brownfield. I don't know Fayette County as well as I should have. I do say I heard one of your advertisers, I think yesterday, advertising for Bittersweet Cafe in Farmington.
Yes.
I live as close to that sandwich, that breakfast sandwich, as I possibly could, because it is the best breakfast sandwich in the United States. So that is where I would try my best to live. I would not live next to a brownfield, which is where we should be putting data centers.
Okay. All right. Brian Kennedy, I'm over time. I want to thank you so much for joining us today here on What's on Your Mind. I learned a lot today. I hope listeners did as well. And I don't know, maybe eased some concerns, but I'm sure raised some concerns for others as well. But I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. This was a great conversation.
All right. Brian, we'll do it again sometime. You have a great afternoon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, this is What's on Your Mind. We're joining Fox News in process.
In state court, he's accused of randomly stabbing the 23-year-old to death on the Blue Line light rail train in Charlotte last August.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. President Trump says the U.S. must respond to the downing of a U.S. Army helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, posting that the U.S. military informed him Iran shot down the helicopter.
We know a couple days ago he was in the Oval Office and was asked if a red line for restarting a hot war against Iran would be U.S. troops being killed. And he said that would be a good reason to resume military operations. There were no U.S. troops killed here, but it seems like Iran was trying really, really hard to kill U.S. troops because they did shoot down an Apache helicopter.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. The 2 U.S. crew members are safe, rescued by a sea drone. America is listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free.